In this video, we'll be introducing some music theory concepts. Learning these terms will make it much easier to explain the music we are playing, describing where we are in a piece of music, and communicating with other musicians. Music theory can be a deep and complex subject, so we're only going to cover the basics in this video. As drummers, we are relied upon to keep time and outline the beat, so it is very important for us to have a grasp of these concepts. In this video, we will cover the music staff, bars or measures and how they divide up music, what a hit on each piece of the kit looks like on the staff, how a bar is divided up into beats, time signatures and how that helps us organize the music we are playing, and we will finish off with a few examples. Don't worry about playing along with these, they're included only to demonstrate the theory concepts we discuss. We will be learning our first groove in the next video. Accompanying this video is a music notation cheat sheet for you to use. Feel free to use it if you get stuck or need a reminder of some of the things we will discuss in this video. Something to keep in mind in this video is that the terms we'll be discussing come from a Western European musical tradition. They are by no means the only way to describe or write music. However, this system is one of the most common. Let's start with the staff. The staff is a set of 5 horizontal lines in which notes are placed. Notes can go on either a line or in the spaces between the lines. For most musicians, each of these lines and spaces represents a different pitch, but for us drummers, they represent different pieces of the kit. Here you can see which drum goes with each line and space. For example, if we see a note in the first space from the bottom, we know to play the bass drum. Bars, also referred to as measures, are simply small sections of music. Most pieces of music are made up of dozens or even hundreds of bars. Each bar is represented by vertical lines bisecting the staff. Each bar is made up of beats. The way beats are organized greatly determines the pulse and groove of the music. So how do we know how many beats fit into a bar, and how do we know how long each beat is? Both of these questions are answered by something called a time signature. A time signature is made up of 2 numbers stacked on top of one another and is found at the beginning of a piece of music. The top number tells you how many beats are in each bar, and the bottom number tells you what type of note makes up one beat. So if we see this time signature, what we'd call 4/4 time, we know that there is 4 beats in each measure, and each beat is 1/4 note in duration. 4/4 is one of the most common time signatures and is the quintessential sound of rock and pop music. Likewise, if we see a 6/8 time signature, we know that there are 6 beats in each measure, and each beat is 1/8 note in duration. So let's talk more about these types of notes. A unique part of drum notation is the varieties of note heads. They can either be solid, usually representing a drum, or a cross, usually representing a cymbal. We will show both variants with each note type. There are a few less common note heads that we will discuss as they come up. A note that occupies an entire bar of 4/4 time is called a whole note. A half note occupies half a bar of 4/4 time. A quarter note usually looks like this and occupies 1/4 of a bar of 4/4 time. An eighth note looks like this and occupies 1/8 of a bar of 4/4 time. If there are more than 1/8 note beside one another, they may be beamed together like this. The last type of note we'll be looking at is the 16th note. And as you may have guessed it, it occupies 1/16 of a bar of 4/4. Just like eighth notes, 16th notes will often be beamed together if they are adjacent. So we just went through a bunch of terms. Now let's see what that looks like and sounds like in action. Here we see a simple piece of music that is 1 bar long. Let's use what we learned to play it. So we can see that it is in 4/4 time and that there are 4 quarter notes in this bar, all on the kick drum. They're all quarter notes, so we know that they will be spaced evenly. The only thing we don't know is how fast to play. This is something called tempo, and we usually learn what the tempo is at the beginning of the piece. We measure the speed of a piece of music in beats per minute, or BPM. We see the tempo represented here. Quarter note equals 120. 120 here being the number of beats per minute. So the speed of this piece is such that we could play 120 quarter notes in the span of 1 minute. Because keeping a steady pulse is so important, I would highly recommend using a metronome. A metronome is an important practice tool that will help you stay on tempo. It is an electronic or mechanical device that provides a steady, audible pulse at selectable tempos. There are also many free-to-use metronome apps for your phone. Going forward, we'll be including a metronome track to accompany all of our examples. So let's get ready to play. We will begin with a 4-beat count-in. Another common musical notation is a rest. Rests can be of any duration, just like their note counterparts. But instead of playing, rests tell us when not to play. Here you can see different lengths of rests. Let's look at another short piece of music, this time incorporating the snare drum and a rest. This groove is in 4/4 time, so we know we'll be dealing with 4 beats in each bar. We can see that each of the first 2 beats have a quarter note played on the kick drum. The third beat is a quarter note played on the snare. And the last beat is a rest, so we don't play at all on that one. Here it is with a 4-beat count-in. To wrap up this video, let's look at a different time signature, 3/4. So we know that there are going to be 3 beats in each bar, and each beat is made up of 1 quarter note. Something to keep in mind is that even though we only have 3 beats in a bar of 3/4 time, the names of the notes stay the same. This is because we base our note names off of how they operate in 4/4 time. A quarter note is always a quarter note no matter what time signature we are playing. In this piece, we are going to be playing the ride cymbal and the kick drum at the same time in the first beat of every other measure. Notice how the notes share the same stem in order to keep the sheet music nice and tidy. So here we go. We'll start with a 3-beat count-in. In our next video, we'll be playing our very first drum groove.